Hey guys, it's Mark, aka the Movie Buffer, back with another video. But before we even get to today's movie, you guys are probably wondering, why in the hell am I wearing this goofy ass hat? Well, it sort of goes with the theme of today's movie. So, I'm not gonna bullshit you guys. This is actually just my hat that I wore to my Freddy Krueger cosplay that I went as to one of the conventions over the past couple of years. However, I did feel it could also double as a cowboy hat as well. But yeah, in case you're wondering why I look like Isaac from Children of the Corn, that's why. Anyway, so yeah, this is gonna be interesting, to say the very least. Today's movie is very, very, God, how do I even put it? Almost pathetic. Somewhat charming in a weird sort of way for all the wrong reasons, of course, like basically every movie that I've reviewed on this channel, aside from maybe one or two. This film is definitely got all the right perks. It hits all the right marks, in terms of a bad movie, or a good bad movie, I should say. And that is, of course, Geteven, or Geteven, I guess it's supposed to be, even though they never put a space between the two words here, but whatever, fuck it. Anyway, this movie's also known as Champagne and Bullets in certain places, and this is another very personal story by an individual. In this case, the gentleman's name was John DeHart, who actually is a lawyer. I don't know if he's still practicing till this date, but I know during the time this movie was made, he was heavily involved in that field. That was his primary line of work, and like Neil Breen, like Tommy Wiseau, he took it upon himself to become an independent filmmaker. And in 1993, he gave us this beautiful mess of a film. Of course, before we get into the review and the commentary for today's video, I'm going to do that thing that you guys love when I do, and that is to remind you about the Patreon. There will be a link in the description below. There you will find early access videos and all kinds of exclusive content. I've been slacking a little bit on it. I know. Things have been a little haywire lately, but I appreciate you guys sticking with me, and I assure you that I'm going to get on top of it. Anyway, with that being said, let's go ahead and dive into the movie.
The film begins with John DeHart's character Rick and his two fellow officers Huck and Normad on a stakeout to bust some drug dealers. Also, they mention beforehand that they don't have a warrant, but Normad says that's okay because they can get a warrant after they bust them for their drugs. I mean, who needs creative writing or actual research on law enforcement practices when you can just pull something out of your ass? Now, of course, since these are smart criminals, rather than taking shelter in the trailer that is currently sheltering them to avoid any gunfire, they decide to immediately pull out their weapons and start firing out the windows and doors as well, completely exposing themselves. During all the chaos, Huck ends up getting shot, although he is not killed, and Normad seems pretty indifferent about all of this. At least Rick has some balls though, and he's not afraid to show them.
What's your problem, Normad? You almost got Huck killed.
So what? If that guy dies, we're doing the whole world a favor. Ah!
Following this, we get a very dramatic zoom-out shot as we get to see what a badass Rick is as he proves his superiority over this punching bag using his skilled martial arts. Much like Neil Breen or even Tommy Wiseau, John DeHart feels the need to prove to his audience what a badass he is by having him be perfect at literally every skill set on the planet. I mean, from martial arts to Shakespeare, this guy is a jack of all trades and a master of absolutely none of them. I almost feel a little bit bad saying this because, while it is very true, you almost have to feel a little sorry for this guy because this is almost literally how he sees himself in real life. I mean, the amount of delusion. Fast forward a year later, and we're at a trial where Normad is now accusing Huck and Rick of being hooked on drugs. Not really sure what evidence he has to go off of, but he seems pretty adamant about this. By the end of the scene, Huck is clearly fed up because he ends up beating the shit out of these 2 other cops in an attempt to get at Normad, and then they just escort him out of the room, and that's the end of the scene. By the way, this never leads to anything. There's no sort of legal consequences for Huck, nor does this ever lead into anything else that has to do with the main storyline of the film, so not sure what the hell that was all about. Next, we cut to target practice with our buddies Rick and Huck, and I guess it was like Hawaiian shirt day or something. I'm not sure what the fuck Huck is wearing, nor do I understand why he has an umbrella with him. But anyway, yeah, this is yet another pointless scene, which you'll find that this movie, like many bad movies, is filled to the brim with these types of sequences. I think the implication here is that the 2 of them have been suspended, at least temporarily, from the police force, because we next see Rick driving a limousine with a bunch of high school kids to what I'm assuming is their prom. By the way, I say high schoolers, but these kids are clearly 27, so unless this guy got held back like 12 times, not really sure how the fuck that's possible. Anywho, Huck ends up doing what I'm sure a lot of limousine drivers wish they could do, and leaves the kids stranded on the side of the road.
Animal crackers? Not a problem. Adios, you Bela Lugosi. Hey, jerk off! Where you going, man?
Rick goes to visit Huck, who is seen wearing a cowboy hat and ironing his clothes while talking to a Native American mannequin. Also, I should take this moment to point out that Huck is played by Wayne Hauser, an actor renowned for his various appearances in cult films and B-movies throughout the years. And while his performance is far from subtle, as he is definitely hamming it the fuck up here, he's easily the most entertaining aspect of this entire film, which is way more than I could say for our lead, John DeHart, who basically has all of the charisma of a piece of cardboard. So they get to the bar, and who should be there but Rick's ex-girlfriend. Yes, this smoking hot blonde here who's about half his age, and is actually played by a real-life Playboy model who I'm sure only agreed to be in this movie because she got paid a fuck ton of money. Also, Huck says he's gonna go get Rick a beer, and then about 3 seconds later, the beer glass just magically appears in front of him.
Hello, Rick.
You must have left town for a while. Your mother says she hadn't seen you in months.
I had to get out.
I mean, I've heard worse excuses from women that have ghosted me in the past.
Like I quit the force.
You quit.
Quit, got fired. What's the difference?
Wait, hold up. So they did get fired? I thought they were just suspended. Alright, so what evidence did Normad have against them to get them fired? Oh yeah, these guys, you know, they're doing bad stuff and doing drugs and things they shouldn't be doing. But I don't have any visual or physical evidence of this, so we'll just take your word for it. You guys are off the force. Is that really how it works? But we have no time for explanations here because Rick is going to show you guys what a real dance move is by showing you how to do the shimmy slide.
Well, they're sleek and they're sliding all across the floor, grooving 2 by 2, stomping for some more. That's when my eyes catch you and my heart begins to sing. Oh, pretty baby, man, can you swing? My feet start to moving as they push me from my chair. My fingers start to snap and wanna run through your hair. I got to get to you, but I get pushed aside, 'cause everybody's doing the shimmy and the slide. Oh, you're on fire when I grab you by the hand. Your waist is moving with the rhythm of the band. My eyes swell up as you take me for a ride. Come on, pretty baby, let's do the shimmy slide.
I'm gonna do a shimmy slide. I'm gonna dance like a shit in my pants.
During all of this, John DeHart continues to look off camera repeatedly throughout this song, almost as if somebody has a sniper rifle aimed directly at his head as he is forced to sing this song. Either that, or this man has some of the worst social anxiety I have ever seen. I'm speechless, guys. I'm absolutely speechless. I just can't wrap my head around the concept of this guy and his vanity project, and how he sees himself as this almost perfect being, this perfect ideal alpha male, whatever you want to call him, sex symbol, who can get any woman he wants, no matter how attractive or out of his league they are. And I hate to sound superficial about this, I'm sure that John DeHart is a real nice guy, a real great guy in real life, but I just don't buy him or his character here as having even the charisma or the personality to swoon a woman like this. I mean, it's just downright absurd. After John's done with his singing, this random woman gets up on stage and just starts stripping, which really upsets one of the bar patrons.
I need to report public nudity.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the original Karen. So these guys show up to the bar and start causing trouble, and thank God Rick knows how to fight.
Out of my way, asshole.
I don't think so.
I got business with the bitch.
She's with me.
You get hurt?
Not a problem.
Get the fuck out of the way.
And if this is any indication of how the fight sequences throughout the rest of this movie are going to be, then color me underwhelmed. So Rick and his ex-girlfriend's mom go to the courthouse to bail out Huck, and we get yet another banger from Rick.
Hey, here's a quarter. Buy yourself a personality.
I mean, you're not really one to talk, buddy. Now you may be asking, what was the significance of this scene? Well, brace yourself, because you're going to be asking that a lot throughout this video. So Rick and his ex-girlfriend, Cindy, I guess are back together now, or at least seeing each other again. So we cut to a restaurant, and I guess Rick is such a popular fellow that apparently everybody in the entire city knows him. He talks to the waiter for a little bit, and then tells him a really long-ass joke that is about as entertaining as Rick's personality is.
So I got a physician joke for you. It's a very attractive young lady. Goes to the doctor for a checkup. The doctor says, hey, you got to disrobe. She says, I'm very shy. Can we turn the lights off? He says, okay. He turns the lights off. She takes her clothes off and she says, doctor, where should I put them? He says, right over here on top of mine.
Yeah, this is interesting and all, but when is something actually gonna happen in this movie?
My name is Tamra, and the reason I've got this camera is if you really love her, you want to picture her.
So we cut to the next scene where we see Rick and Cindy reconciling, where Cindy opens up to Rick about why she left. Apparently she fell in with the wrong crowd, and one thing led to the next, and here we get some exposition that should be interesting and integral to the plot, but unfortunately it's delivered in the flattest, most boring, monotoned way possible, in a manner that almost seems like the actors are reading directly off of a cue card versus actually reciting their lines.
The crowd I got into, we started getting involved in this coven, and I just fell into it. Before I knew it, I was attending these meetings.
Throughout the ages, Satan has guided us.
Now, I'll be totally transparent with you guys. I've never been involved in a cult, let alone a satanic cult. But if a friend group that I recently started hanging out with all of a sudden revealed to me that they were planning to sacrifice a human baby as a part of their satanic cult, I would definitely be asking a question or two versus just playing along with it.
We love you, Satan.
And who else should turn out to be the leader of this devil-worshipping cult other than Rick's old partner, Normad? And I'm sorry to be such a cynic here, Cindy, but how in the fuck do you fall into hanging out with this type of crowd? Do the upside down crosses, the black robes, the pentagrams, and the baby sacrificing not raise a red flag or two? But it's okay, Cindy. Rick is here to cheer you up with some classic Shakespeare. Or, I mean, put you to sleep with it.
To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, and thus the native hue of resolution is sicklied, or by the pale cast of thought.
Yeah, Rick, that's cool and all, man, but what about the satanic cult that your ex-partner is involved in? So the two make it back to Cindy's place, and we find out that Rick has an ice fetish. Okay, I mean, this is, I guess, hot and all, but again, getting back to the plot involving the satanic cult. Anyway, let's see how our buddy Huck is doing. We cut to Huck's house where we see him shooting his bills in what is honestly my favorite scene in this entire movie.
Gas. Credit card.
So Huck, who's pretty much been getting wasted throughout this entire film, gets into some kind of domestic dispute with his wife, girlfriend, not sure what she is exactly, and the police are called and he is escorted away. Now, before you waste any time or brain cells asking why exactly did this scene happen and what is the significance of it to the overall film, remember, John DeHart also wrote this film. So, that should answer your question right there. Next, we go to the courthouse, where we see the judge is none other than Normad, the satanic leader himself. As you probably could have predicted, Normad sentences Huck to jail. Why, you might ask? Because he doesn't like him. I'm not even bullshitting you guys, that is legit the reason that he gives.
Listen, you polyester puppet.
All right, slow down. What are you talking about?
Huck and Normad were on the police force together. Normad never liked Huck.
See, and you guys thought I was exaggerating. Next, we see Huck in jail where he attempts to commit suicide by drinking bleach, which I'm pretty sure would burn his esophagus pretty fucking bad. But in the following scene, we see him smoking a cigarette.
I heard you did that bleach thing.
What?
You did that bleach thing.
I did, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's hilarious. Some guy trying to drink bleach to commit suicide. That's just gut busting. Absolutely hysterical. Good one, Rick. So Rick and Cindy go to her parents' place to pick up some of her clothes, and then we get this awkward exchange.
Who are you? Another drug-contaminated devil worshiper from Hollywood?
Who are you? Another Satanist from Hollywood?
Next, we're treated to a very uncomfortable sex scene that goes on for a solid 5 minutes. I'm gonna trim the majority of it out, not just because YouTube would have a bitch fit over it, but I'm sure you guys don't want to see John DeHart's naked, flabby old man body as he gets his dick wet. So Rick and Cindy get married, and in case you're wondering, once again, where is any of this going? I have no fucking clue. I'm just along for the ride at this point, just like you guys. So, Normad hires a couple of goons to go hunt down Cindy and John, and then this exciting chase scene ensues. This next part is a tad confusing to follow. I know, big shocker there. But they cause the bike to somehow spin out, which I guess kills Cindy, because the very next scene we cut to a funeral service that's being held. And an extremely awkward funeral at that.
I told her something like this was going to happen.
How? How did you know this was going to happen? How could you have predicted that your daughter was going to get chased down and murdered by a gang of satanic cultists? How? So now it's time for Rick to get even, Geteven, as he tracks down Normad at his hideout and starts taking out his goons one by one. Also, I'm not sure where he got the bow and arrow from or why he's using it. I guess maybe he saw First Blood Part 2 and thought that would be cool to recreate in real life. Well, I hate to break it to you, Rick, but your geriatric ass is certainly no Sylvester Stallone. Normad is oblivious to all this as he's currently preoccupied making a drug deal with Danny Trejo's brother here. But in a hilariously over-the-top fashion, Normad gets pissed and things go south real fast. Of course, being the opportunist that he is, Normad can't wait to snort his newly acquired cocaine, which he does so in the basement where they apparently perform their satanic rituals. Rick is able to track him down pretty easily and the two have a one-on-one showdown. But hey, no biggie. At least Normad has two henchmen that can just magically appear behind Rick just when he's about to kill Normad. I guess these are his on-call henchmen. But of course, being the incompetent villain that he is, Normad, instead of killing Rick right then and there, says he's too busy to kill him himself as he has to snort his cocaine, and orders his henchmen to take Rick out of the building to be killed. Well, gee, I'm sure this isn't gonna backfire at all. And oh shit, it's our old buddy Huck. He pops out from the brush and takes out the two henchmen just in the nick of time. And now get ready for the slowest and most hilarious fight scene you've probably ever seen in a film, as these two geriatrics beat the crap out of each other. Sadly, the fight ends pretty quick as Normad gets stabbed in the stomach with his own knife. So the building burns down and we next see Rick at Cynthia's grave paying his respects when he's approached by a random nun. The nun asks him for a ride to the hospital, as if he's not clearly seen here mourning his dead wife. But Rick gives in and asks why on the way. The nun tells him there's somebody here that wants to see him, and oh boy, I wonder who it could be. Holy shit, it's Cindy! How in the fuck is she alive? I have no idea. I don't think the writer or director even knew. But lo and behold, here she is, alive and in the flesh. Okay, so, serious question here. If she was in the hospital this entire time, then who the fuck was in the casket? Why must I abuse myself by asking such questions in a film like this? Now, according to John DeHart, this film, or at least parts of it, were based on real-life events. I can only take that with a grain of salt, but I'm willing to bet that the bar sequence actually happened in real life. I mean, just look at that dance and that facial expression. I mean, how do you fake that? The movie was, however, 100% self-financed, and I definitely have no issues with believing that. If nothing else, I can say that I do appreciate John DeHart's commitment and willingness to actually go out and make his dreams come true. I mean, make fun of this man in this movie all you want, but there is something to be admired there. Now, entertainment-wise, this one's a little on the dull side. What little action sequences there are absolutely laughable, and the majority of the film just feels like padding. It seems like John DeHart would rather us watch him try to get laid for 90 minutes than actually tell a coherent story. Basically, what little character development there is saved for him showing how awesome he is, whether it be at being a karate master or showing off his ability to sing country. And trust me, there's a lot of that in this movie. And that is why I consider this one of the ultimate vanity projects, despite being pretty boring and pretty bad at the end of the day. Just be glad I trimmed out those music sequences because, oh boy, are they just unbearable.
Alright guys, well that's it for today's video. Please, if you enjoyed this one, feel free to give me a like, subscribe so you don't miss any more fun on this channel, and also let me know what movies you guys would like me to review. I'll create some polls and stuff like that, and that way that can give me more of an idea of the type of content that you guys personally enjoy or that you find most entertaining. And that really will help clue me in as to what kind of videos might better suit my audience. I appreciate you guys and all your support, whether it be over on the Patreon or just over here on YouTube. It makes a world of difference, and it allows me to put out more videos here for you guys. So thank you for that. And until then, ciao for now.